Hi Louie, and welcome to Lessons with Louie Maxwell. You're very welcome to your own show. The funniest thing I've ever seen. I regularly do that myself, but wonder what it looks like. So what Louie just did was, he wanted to yawn, but he tried to hold the yawn in, and everybody knows how that feels, don't you? But what it looked like was both his top and bottom lips were quivering at the same time, and it looked like this yawn was trying to escape. It was very funny to watch.
Maybe I'll see it on the side.
Today I'm joined by MuinteoirMurphy to discuss the Irish language, school and all things around that. So what MuinteoirMurphy is doing, she is taking the Irish language and making it very modern for young people to learn from. So she has set up a YouTube channel, she has an Instagram page at MuinteoirMurphy where she posts things about Ontrial, and she does loads of Irish notes and stuff like that. And she also has content for people, you know, who just want to look at Irish content and learn Irish content, and it's not all based on academics, but that is a strong focus. So she has chatted to me today, and let's have a listen.
Alright guys, what's going on? And welcome to Lessons with Louie. This is one of the very first episodes with the amazing MuinteoirMurphy. She's changing the Irish game. She's going to be one of the first big Irish vloggers on the platform, launching a great Instagram at MuinteoirMurphy. Make sure you give her a follow, and we are here to sit down today to ask her how she gets into this mind frame of success. So
I think you think I'm more successful than I am. I lost 60 followers this morning, so there you go. That's success.
So, Muinteoir, what inspired you to start this Instagram page?
Well, to be honest, I'm very interested in social media. I really like social media. I use all of the platforms. Instagram is probably my favorite. And I just kind of saw potential there with, you know, what could be actually done with Instagram, with social media. I think people think of it as a kind of a bit of a time waster, just for chatting to friends and stuff. But I kind of thought, you know, where can I take this? How could I use this for work? And I've seen a couple of other teachers do kind of similar stuff as well. So I was, to be honest, I didn't come up with the whole idea. You know, there's certainly a couple of other really good accounts out there that I follow and that I interact with, and just based on, you know, my particular interests and Irish and teaching, and I just kind of decided to put it all together and started that this year.
What made you want to break the mold, you know, change the game? Instead of just doing what you do, like, obviously you don't get paid. It's like myself, this podcast is not getting funded. There's no money.
Oh, really?
No.
I'm not getting paid for this.
You're not getting paid for this. I just do it because I want to do it. I want to spread positivity and try and inspire people, other people's stories such as yours. So why did you choose to educate people for free, essentially?
Just as I said, like, I'm really interested in social media. So I've been teaching here now for the last 7 years, and I love teaching. But I suppose I've seen how courses are beginning to change, and I'm just kind of looking at it from my perspective and from what inspires me. I'm looking at that changing course, and I'm kind of thinking about, you know, how can we actually change how we're teaching and what we're teaching and where we're teaching, I suppose, essentially. And if you think about, like, kids today, what they're interested in online, social media, Instagram, that's where you're going to find them. So I suppose that's the angle I was coming from. You know, they mightn't be interested in what's going on in the classroom all the time. They mightn't be interested in the other platforms that are out there, like radio and TV. They're online, so why not kind of start something up that's in their field that they can find and that they can interact with too. So it was really just born out of that, my personal interest, and also their interests and where to find them now and what kind of stuff they're into now. And I just thought that would be a good place to start. So why have I decided to do it for free? And why am I educating people for free? I honestly, and one of the main reasons I became a teacher is because I do like helping people, and I will give all the time in the world to somebody who I think it deserves help or asks for help. And you know, there's been a great reaction to that. Like, I have a lot of people sending me messages asking questions about different questions that are on the exam, and asking for help, or how to maybe phrase an answer, or how to say something in Irish. And yeah, no, to be honest, it's just natural to me to help them and to try and help them if I can.
And in the development of the page, do you have any major setbacks or people giving you hate or not getting the support you've needed? Like, has it all been positive reactions?
Well, I don't want to tempt fate. Luckily, I haven't had any major hate. I was touching wood there. I haven't had any hate, as you put it, yet. Aside from a few of my students who just point blank refuse to follow the page, which is kind of hurtful at times. But you know,
We'll get there.
no. But like, to be honest, it's really to help them. So if I were kind of receiving hate or people kind of, you know, not supporting the page, well, I wouldn't be doing it, because I'm doing it to help as much as I can, to help my own students at school, but also then to help other students all around the country. So as long as it's helping them, I'm happy with how it's going.
And if you're helping one person, it's worth it. Do you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Like, so how do you keep motivated? Because building up a social media platform, so it's such a amount of effort to build and build. Like, what keeps you motivated? What keeps you going every morning to do it?
Well, I suppose I've kind of, you know, I've got a routine now with that. Most evenings I'll spend a bit of time doing like maybe one or other exam questions. It's all very exam focused at the moment. So I've got a routine with that, but I'm constantly thinking about how I can update it and how I can change it. At the beginning, the challenge for me was setting it up and, you know, putting the time into doing the posts, whether they're stories or posts on the grid. So at the beginning, that was a challenge. Now I'm comfortable with doing that, and I suppose comfortable with the fact that, you know, that there's hundreds of people looking at the story now, where at the beginning maybe there was only 50 or 60, and now when you look at the figures, you were one of them, yeah. You were supporting in the early days, but now I suppose the figures are getting higher. And to be honest, at the beginning I was a bit shocked, and I was a bit, oh God, how can I can't cope with all these people looking at the stories, especially if I'm on the video myself. But that was a challenge at the beginning. So now to keep motivated, I'm kind of trying to think, where can I bring this page next? What can I do next?
Thank you.
How can I build it? Pardon?
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
No, I'm joking. And what books or podcasts or movies do you watch that, like, apart from the page, like, keep you motivated? Like, you tell me you have like a pretty strict like gym regime, you're in work, you're doing the Instagram, and you have time to do other things. Like, what like content have you absorbed that have like helped you to stay motivated throughout the years?
To be quite honest with you, and I know that this is I'm probably in the minority today, that I don't really listen to that many podcasts. Is that a sin? I obviously am going to start listening to Lessons with Louie religiously, but no, I don't like religiously listen to any podcasts. I listen to a couple of podcasts by English girls, Dolly Alderton. I really like her podcast, but I don't listen to it like regularly. So I can't really say. Like
audiobooks or films.
I do love audiobooks actually, and that's one thing that I've really gotten into in the last year, because I just found that with work and just then with, well, I'm going to say hobbies, but like my hobbies are pretty much, I go to the gym or I do extra bits of work, but I've no major hobbies in the traditional sense. But it was difficult to find time to sit down and read. To be honest, I was never a huge reader anyway, but since I downloaded Audible, #SP, I'm joking. Since I downloaded Audible, I've actually started listening to a lot more books, a lot of autobiographies actually. That's one of my favourite genres. I listened to Lily Allen's recently, Maria Sharapova, Dolly Alderton, who that's her second plug now in the same podcast, when I didn't think of her probably in the last month, but anyway, there you go. So I just like listening to autobiographies generally, but when I get the time to sit down and listen, or maybe on the train or when I go for a walk.
So has there been any book or film or anything in particular that you think has changed your life?
I think changed my life is going to be a little bit of a stretch here, but yeah, like I as I said, I don't really do a lot of reading of physical books anymore. I listen to a lot of books. I watch a bit of TV. I watch mostly just Netflix. I don't actually sit down and watch any TV shows, aside from maybe the weekend I look at a series on Netflix. But as I said, you know, I'm mad into the Instagram, but I do watch a lot of Instagrammers and vloggers. And I have to say that in the last few months since I started doing the Instagram page, my whole attitude towards vloggers and people that are putting themselves out there has completely changed, and it's actually completely changed my whole perspective on it. And I'd say, like, in the past, even though I would have like absorbed their content, as they say.
Is that a weird way to phrase it, absorbing content?
Well, it is, but I think that's what they all say now.
Yeah.
All the influencers.
Us.
Yeah. That they that's what they say. Anyway, all the content that I consume or absorb, I would have enjoyed it, but I suppose I would have been always a little bit of a cynic when I'd be looking at it thinking, oh sure, who does she think she is? Or, you know, she's loads of money anyway, sure, she's getting paid to promote that, and you know, sure, that's not a real job. That kind of I would have definitely thought things like that. But since I started doing this, I kind of started to appreciate now how much time that bloggers and vloggers put into the content that they produce, whether it's video content, whether it's blog posts, whether it's just Instagram posts, that it actually takes a lot of time. And we might not think that it's particularly useful or relevant or important, but depending on what angle they're coming from. So I suppose a lot of vloggers or bloggers, it'd be entertainment, or for a lot of them now it's marketing as well and advertisement. So there is something of significance there, and it is important, and they're taking the time to produce that. And whether you're looking at it as entertainment, or whether you're being influenced to buy stuff or to get involved with different things, you are being influenced in some way, and they are producing that content, which is taking time, which is work. And even though, as I'm saying, like, I really enjoy doing the Instagram stuff, it is work. It's work that I enjoy, but at the end of the day, when I go home and sit down and spend 2 hours making a story that might be only 6 or 7 like snaps long, that has taken me time to make. And I suppose my whole outlook on that whole industry has really changed, because I realized that there's a lot of work goes into it, and that we should kind of be respectful and mindful of that, and just realize that there is time and effort that goes into that. So I suppose, in a way, to roundabout answer your question, Louis, that has kind of changed my whole, I'm not going to say change my world or change anything, but it has changed. I'm after hitting the microphone, sorry. But it's changed my whole perspective on that whole industry.
I'd have to agree with you. I think there's this idea that there's loads of egos and divas, but it's the opposite. Everyone was so kind, and it was just such a beautiful environment. You know,
I think if you kind of put yourself out there, that can be.
I think it's an Irish thing.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. But I think when you put yourself out there, people think, oh, sure, you know, sure, he's just full of himself, or he just wants everyone to be looking at him.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe that's true for some people, but I think it takes courage to put yourself out there, even if you are a confident person, and you're a confident person. And I think I'm generally a confident person, but I still think, like, it takes a lot. It takes a bit of guts to put yourself out there, and people will have different reactions, but as long as you're doing it for the right reason, I suppose that's half the battle. I suppose that was one of the main motivators for me when I started the page, that's what kids are doing today anyway. They're on Instagram and they're on social media, so why not try and put something that they actually need to know, or something that they need to learn, that maybe they're taking away from their homework time or their study time when they're looking at Instagram. Well, why not put the study there? And I suppose it just finds them where they are, and hopefully then they're absorbing something that's useful, or that they're learning something new. And I know that sometimes, like, the stories that I put up can be particularly long.
They are.
They are, I know. But I always say that first and foremost, it's an education website, and, you know, it's not always fun, but I hope that it's just a little bit more fun than looking at it in a textbook. And I always save everything, all the stories. I generally do stories. I only do posts for maybe, you know, if there's a longer caption, or if I'm tying it in with maybe oral work or something like that. But they are quite long, the stories, so I always save them to a highlight. And if you look, that there's the highlight reel, there's like a different highlight for grammar, another one for like poetry, another one for maybe just general vocabulary. So if you think, oh, I can't be bothered now going through all of those 10 slides, but maybe at a later stage you might think, okay, I have a test now on that, I'll go back and check, I'll recap over it and the highlights now. So even though they are long, I try to kind of vary it as well and just have kind of just random like interesting pieces of vocabulary, or just try and tie it in with maybe something I'm doing or somewhere I am, and just to make it a little bit more fun at times as well.
What would you say to a student who may not have the confidence to start something like a podcast or an influencer page?
I'd say, first of all, you probably need to have something specific, maybe in today's climate on social media. You need to have something specific that you want to put out there. I know there's a lot of people who kind of do really general, kind of just vlogging and chatting and blogging and have a personal page. But I suppose there are so many of them now that that Instagram and social media and the internet is just saturated with personal blogs, and I was going to say wannabes, and then I thought that would be a bit harsh because I am one of them. So are you. But no, I suppose that there are quite a number of similar pages out there, so you need to have maybe a specific angle. So find that, so that you have at least kind of some, concrete material to hide behind. I don't really mean that, but I mean just something that that you've got something specific that you're going to talk about it, that you want to put out online. I think it can be a great place for someone who maybe is a little bit shy, or is lacks a little bit of confidence, or is still developing their confidence. The internet can be a really great place to do that, because even though you are putting yourself out there to tens or hundreds or thousands of people, whatever the case may be, essentially you are just on your own when you're producing the content, whether it's video, whether it's a story or whatever it is, you are on your own. So even though you feel you feel probably like, oh, I'm just doing this myself, you're speaking to a wider audience. So maybe that is a good way of developing your confidence, because you're kind of doing it bit by bit, and you're gradually getting more confident behind the camera, or gradually getting more confident at interacting with people. But also I would say at the same time, and it's unfortunate, but particularly I suppose in that younger age bracket, putting themselves out there like that sometimes unfortunately could lead to bullying issues as well, because unfortunately we know that there's a lot of, as you said earlier on, hate, and a lot of online hate. A lot of bullying takes place online now. So maybe it isn't the best idea to start that young, but you certainly need to have, I would say,
I like to stand on.
You need to have a certain amount of confidence to put yourself out there. So maybe that age, that 12 to 15 bracket, is a little bit
very
too
sensitive,
young. Maybe a little bit too young and I'm no expert.
But I found, I set up my YouTube page when I was 12, and I used to sing every Friday a new cover. Were you around for that? Did you miss that?
I definitely remember you showing me a video before. I think, did you sing Jar of Hearts or something? On YouTube you showed it to me, I think when we were in the Philippines.
Oh yeah, air on YouTube. I showed it to you on YouTube. But the thing is, loads of people gave me so much stick for that, and so much hate. I love the way you're using the word hate, but it's true. And you know what? My brothers told me to take it down, my parents told me to take it down, everyone told me to take it down. And then I was in school one day, and this is so funny, because one person who I'm really good friends with now and who loves to sing came over and started slagging me and saying, "Oh, why are you singing on YouTube? That's dumb."
Really? This was back then? They said
back then when I was about 12 or 13, but the words were a bit harsher. But anyway, then this ordeal happened, and I was told to take the videos down or whatever. And then myself and this person, he loved to sing, but he started a YouTube channel and got slagged for it, so took it down immediately. So I think his counteracting thing was to take it out on me, to kind of take the attention away from him. So I think it can just kind of stem from insecurity, like to bully people online. Like I feel like people who are getting a lot of traction and things like that, people just want to take them down. And it's like, I feel like a lot of Irish people say it when I'm like, I did a great interview with Saoirse Ronan there a couple of years ago. They're like, oh, she thinks she's fucking great. It's like, well, she is fucking great. She is, I suppose. But it's like, what's wrong with having 3 Oscar nominations? And they're like, Bono, he's a billionaire, I hate him. Do you know? I don't. I know.
We're a nation of begrudgers.
But we're also meant to be a prideful nation, so it's very contradictory.
But I suppose when you were just mentioning there about how when you were younger and your parents and everyone trying to tell you to take this down, obviously they were trying to protect you from all that. And that's where I don't really know, like, is it a suitable place for a kid to hang out?
They're already there anyway.
They are there, but I mean, to put themselves out there like that. And I think it's great. And look, and it obviously helped you, and you gained an awful lot of confidence from doing that. And now you're well able to do it, and it's no bother to you. Yeah. But looking back, would you like, if you were speaking to, say, a first or second year, would you tell them to do the same thing? Would you say, put yourself out there online, start putting up videos? It's going to be tough now for the next 4 years, but you'll get by. I don't know what's the right approach. I honestly don't know what's the right approach. I suppose it depends on the individual person.
And it's a different time. Like with me, I feel like social media was a little more safer when I was on, but now the way the youths are using it, they like get loads and loads of followers who they just don't know.
Yeah.
And likes and all these things, and they do this thing where they will upload a photo and then get 200 likes, their next photo get 300 likes, so they delete the one with 200 likes. So they have this like tier, and then some of them just like wipe their account clean when they don't get enough likes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Instead of like, I'd use Instagram kind of like, this was a fun time, like I'm gonna put this picture up.
Yeah.
But sorry, we're on a bit of a tangent, but I'm happy. I got slagged, people said things to me, tried to bring me down, and I didn't really get brought down. Like I got back up and brought out my debut single, Potato, 1845. When the second...
struggling to say a laugh.
The second...
We ain't got no potato.
The second year, going into third year somewhere. And everyone was like, that's gas, like, well done. And
I suppose it depends on...
what it is.
On groups as well. Like, it takes one person to build up the whole... Like, to build you up, but one person to kind of... encourage everyone else to say, okay, great, that's brilliant, Louis.
There's a sheep mentality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so one person might say, oh, look at your man, who does he think he is? And then, and I'm sure kids are a lot harsher than that. Like, I think that's
PG version.
Yeah, that is very PG. But yeah, so they kind of just follow the
crowd,
the herd, the crowd, or
follow your dreams and not the crowd. That's what I say. But no, sorry, going back to your question, would I tell a 12 or 13 year old to do it? I don't know.
You see, that's it, because like you're looking back and you're saying, now that worked for me and I was able for it and that only made me stronger. But think about your parents and your older brothers, and they said to you, take it down. And they were looking
take it down.
Take it down. But they were just looking out for you. Yeah. And you can see that too. And like, obviously they didn't want you to have to go through all of that hate. Now our new word of the day, fuck a little A, word of the day.
That's a bad word.
Yeah, so they didn't want you to go through that. Would you want, so if you were say mentoring or teaching a younger student now, would you say, okay, just put the head down and get through it, you'll be grand? Or would you maybe tell them, they were your brothers and your family were looking at it from a family perspective and looking at you and saying, you don't want them to go through that. Like, would you then put someone else through that? It's a hard one. Yeah, no, I don't call them fans. I don't think you can only be fan of, we're doing, and I'm Shirkacha today. I'm a fan of that.
That's all. I don't know. We're all human beings at the end of the day, and I think we forget that.
Good observation there, Louis.
No, but do you know what I mean? Fundamentally, like, I find it so weird getting public transport and people are just like locked into earphones. Like, even saying, excuse me, like, this is my stop, I need to get off. People are like, why are you talking to me? And I feel like it's becoming even worse and worse for the next generation. Like,
definitely, yeah, it is completely. And you know what? I think I'm probably, of my generation, I'm probably one of the worst. And I'm probably a lot worse than a lot of the kids at school too. I'm really bad for my phone. I'm really, really bad. My phone is constantly in my hand. It's not right now.
Where is it?
It's in my bag. But no, I am. And I think I probably grew up around technology a lot more than a lot of my peers did. We were just at home. My dad was always big into technology, still is. But like I had a computer since we had computers since I was like probably 4 or 5 now. That's quite a while ago now. No, but I mean, I just when other people in class didn't have computers, we had computers. I remember getting my first mobile phone when I was 13. I just turned 13 for Christmas, and it was a little Motorola red flip-up phone, marble effect. It was really, really cool. Nobody else had a phone, and I was 13, so that was quite a few years ago. I'd say were you born or not? Maybe not. Maybe not.
No, I would have been about 2.
No, you wouldn't have. Basically, nobody had mobile phones, not to mind kids at school. And I remember getting a mobile phone for Christmas, and
Daddy bought me a mobile phone.
I didn't. Well, no, Santa. I got a mobile phone for my 13th birthday. Actually, for Christmas, just after my 13th birthday, and I wanted a doll, and I got a mobile phone, and I was really disappointed. But from that day on, I have had a mobile phone in my hand ever since, and I've always been ahead of the curve technologically. I actually have a master's in IT. Will you believe?
Who gave you that?
Information technology.
DCU.
DCU, yeah.
When did you do that?
I actually did it at Oscuelga. It was all through Irish. I did it in DCU. Before I taught here, actually, I was working there part-time on terma.ie, which was then known as fuckle.ie, which is an online terminology dictionary for Irish. Or just an online dictionary. I worked there and I studied part-time. I did a master's in IT, Oscuelga.
That's pretty.
So
cool.
it's always, technology has always been a huge part of my life, and yeah, I'm really big into it, and I suppose that's how I gained such a big interest in social media, Facebook first, and now Insta.
And how do you?
Twitter, bit of Snapchat.
Do you do Snapchat and Twitter?
I hope that those weird accents won't be in there. Please cut all that out. If you put any of this in, Louis, these are not lessons with Louis. This is like a car crash with Louis.
How do you find balancing productivity on social media and time wasting?
Keshtva, that's a very good question. I don't, is the short answer. I don't balance those things at all. I time waste, and then I'm productive as well. I'd say when I put my mind to it, if I say, okay, I want to do a post on this tonight, I just sit down and do it. And once I get into it, and I'm the same with a lot of things, once I get into something, I'm completely absorbed in it. And there's that word again, I'm so absorbed. Concentration levels amongst kids are probably getting worse because of social media and because of the distractions that we have. And I'm saying that as, for them, but also for me and for you. And I don't know if you think that, but like, I'm so easily distracted by things. And that ties into the whole time wasting thing again. I could be doing something online or doing work online, and I get so easily distracted. So for me, it's important to just be really passionate about what I'm doing. And at the moment, doing the Instagram stuff, I'm really passionate about that. So once I get into it, I could spend a couple of hours and I wouldn't even notice a couple of hours gone by. The same with writing notes and like typing up essays and bits and pieces. If I'm interested, I'll concentrate. If I am not interested, I won't. So yeah, I don't know if I can't remember what the question was. Can you?
The question was, how do you tackle productivity and time wasting? No. So
I don't. If I'm interested, I can do it. If I'm not, so I have to. That's why I have to kind of constantly keep things interesting for me, and even the whole, like, as much as I love teaching, this is kind of keeping it fresh and interesting for me, and I kind of have. That's a challenge for me to kind of constantly find new ways to keep things interesting for me, because if I'm not interested, well,
you're not invested. I'm
not invested, but if I'm not invested, every day I've got 20 odd students sitting in front of me, and if I'm not interested, how can I expect them to be interested? So I just have to find new ways to maintain that interest.
And what advice would you give to the junior cert and leaving cert students this year?
Read the question.
That's simple.
Honestly, I could say, my advice is sit down, do 3 hours of study, do this, that, and the other. You know all that. You've heard all that. Whether you're doing it or not, that's a different story. The self-motivated kids will do that. If you're not self-motivated, well, you need maybe other aids. You need to be assisted in other ways. You might do study timetables, all the rest. Yeah. But so you cannot give blanket advice there on that. The blanket advice you can give for exams, junior cert, leaving cert, college, whatever exams you're doing, assignments, homework, questions, read the question and answer the question. You can study them, but if you can't actually apply things to questions. And that's life in general. If you cannot take your knowledge and tweak it and adapt it to suit the life situation or in an exam to suit a question, well then your experience isn't really worth anything, is it? So I think that's read the question in an exam, but like read the question in life as well. Like just read your situation, use your previous experiences to be able to deal with those situations. That's what experience is about. And it's just the same with studying. Absorb your knowledge and then tweak it, make it fit, make it work on the day. Read the question, answer the question. That's my advice for today. Yeah, so no, I'm not really great at prioritizing. I should prioritize more. I definitely started in the last year or so prioritizing some time for myself and things that I like to do, such as going for nice walks or going to the cinema or going to the gym even. That's definitely something that keeps me sane and keeps me on track if I go to the gym a few times a week. But prioritizing, I really am the best at it. I'm still trying to improve on that. I think that's like a constant learning curve for me, how to prioritize. But there's certainly things that like I think, okay, I haven't time for that anymore, or I don't have time. I'm very good at being kind of black and white about things like that, saying, yeah, I can do that, or no, that doesn't suit me, I can't do that, or that isn't really adding anything to my life. And I think you have to be kind of cutthroat like that sometimes, don't you? Just to say, no, not for me, or this situation isn't good for me. So you have to be, that's a bit of a learning curve. You have to be able to just say no to things.
The power of no is very strong.
The power of no.
I actually read a book. I'm reading a book called The Power of No. It's based on essentialism. And it's just kind of like, if I say yes to this, I'll lose all of this. So if someone says, let's go out to a nightclub on Friday, it's like, no, I've worked Saturday morning, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But that sacrifice is worth it. Like, sacrifice is success.
Yeah.
But I think you need to find a balance, especially when it's like, well, for me, I'm like, I'm young. Should I be, working less and going out and partying more? But I don't think so, because these things are more rewarding,
Yeah, well, I suppose you have to look at it from your own perspective, and each individual case is different. Like, what's worth it to you? What's rewarding for you? For someone else, it might not be the same case. So you have to just say, well, I want to do this, so you have to do you basically, and don't let others influence you too much, I suppose.
Except influencers.
And
what future projects do you have coming up?
Well, I was actually telling you recently, wasn't I, about that I'm starting a YouTube channel. I have it set up already, but it's there's a couple of videos on it. It's just their exam focused stuff and course Leaving Cert coursework stuff. So it's there, but where I want that to go, I want to just get into more general vlogging. So the Instagram at the moment is very much exam focused, Leaving Cert Irish focused. It's the standard of Irish is quite high. The content is quite like higher level focused, but where I want that to go, I want to kind of try and I'm going to continue with that for this year, but then a lot of the content I'll have already made, which will be still relevant next year. It's still going to be accessible on highlights or on the grid and in posts. So a lot of that will be kind of done, I'm hoping, by the end of this year. And then I want to start maybe just making it a little bit more general, maybe trying to be, to kind of create an appeal to a wider audience, maybe just people who maybe want to learn a new word every day, or maybe people who just want to see everyday life but Oscailga. And that's what I want to do with the vlog. I bought a new camera recently, and I want to start just doing everyday vlogs, simple things, just traveling, food, shopping, just random, just life vlogs. And I know there's a lot of that out there, but obviously this is going to be Oscailga. So the point behind that is I just want to, produce content or video content, which I know like everyone is, I was going to say young people, but really everyone is interested in nowadays. And it's just another way of hearing Irish and listening to Irish that isn't just your traditional methods of like TV and books and radio. Because realistically, there's not, never mind TG Cahir, but there's not many young people that are going home to watch TV anyway, are they? What do you think?
No, I don't think that.
It's hard to get them to say, okay, sit down now and watch the news on TG Cahir tonight, because you want them to listen to Irish outside of the classroom. So I want to kind of make something where, okay, watch my vlog. There you can listen to Irish outside of the classroom, and it's maybe more relatable and it's more interesting and it's more current and modern.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I want to go with it. It's exam focused at the moment, but I just want to appeal to kind of like say on the Gaeilge and Irish speakers and people learning Fáilimóirí, Irish language speakers and learners, and just to appeal to a greater audience, and just to make something that's going to be useful and relevant and entertaining maybe as well.
I think it's amazing what you're doing to preserve the Irish language.
Thanks.
Actually, I don't know if I told you, I'm getting our students to make their next short film.
Oh, you did, yeah.
And I said you'd help
the teachers
out.
were talking about it to me as well. Yeah, definitely.
I said it to you though, yeah.
You did, yeah, you said it to me too.
And their biggest fear was, we can't do it in Irish, da, 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 da. And I'm like, there's going to be help, and there's only a certain amount of lines and things like that. But
and it doesn't have to be perfect either. And
in life, in general, anything doesn't have to.
No.
This podcast isn't going to be perfect, and that's what's beautiful about it, because I'll do it, put it out to the world, and learn.
Oh yeah, so at the moment, everything I put up on Instagram, and there have been a couple of mistakes here and there, and I've gone back and kind of corrected them, but I spend so much time doing the posts, double checking them, spell checking them, checking the grammar, because at the moment it's really academic and really exam focused, and it's pitched at higher level, leaving cert students. So if I'm putting mistakes out there, it's not creating a good example. So obviously I focus so much on making sure grammar, spelling, everything is right there. But what I want the vlog to be a lot more natural, and especially with Irish, there's so many kind of variations of the grammar, and when you put in your shaves and your ers and all the rest, and the grammar doesn't have to be perfect. And even though when I'm reading something, I'll be very careful to check grammar. When I'm speaking, you can't re-say everything. You say something and it's out there. So I don't want to edit that kind of stuff out. I want it to see, to be like, Irish it's a living spoken language, and I want it to be alive in the vlogs, and I don't want it to be basically everything word perfect, because that's not life anyway, as you said.
It's just weird, I think, how our nation just are kind of trying to forget our national language.
Are they?
Like general public, not government funding.
Do you know what? Kind of
things like
something that really annoys me, to be honest. Everywhere I go, like, so say if I have an appointment to get my hair done, or just like random appointments or places you go, or new people you meet, and you're talking to people, and you're saying, you're just making small talk, and you ask the person maybe what they do, and then they ask you what they do, and you say, I'm an Irish teacher. Oh, I hated Irish at school. Like, that's constantly the reaction I get. And then I just kind of constantly find myself having to defend not even just the language, but defend my job, I suppose, and defend what I do. There is this, but also another thing that most people say is, I wish I could speak better Irish, or I wish I was able to speak Irish. I actually really liked Irish at school, but I was really bad at it. So then I didn't like it. So it's more so, it's hard to constantly hear that. And I hope that if anything, like if doing stuff like this, I hope that it appeals to more than just school students and people studying Irish, but that it'll appeal and obviously to people who speak Irish, and people who are interested in vlogging and interested in vlogs and online stuff. But I hope that it appeals to maybe some other people that maybe that don't fall into kind of the target audience. That I hope that there is no target audience. I hope that it'll encourage maybe other people to, maybe like yourself, like to listen to Irish again, or to hear Irish again, and just to see it in a different way, and see it in a different light. I think that keeping it modern and trying to modernize it and trying to make it current and trying to look at it from a different perspective, that's maybe what's going to keep it alive, because it's certainly not from reading textbooks or from doing
on Trial.
Well, even though I think that's still like, I have a couple of videos on that on YouTube. That's still really interesting. But like, no, yeah, I know what you mean. Like that same stuff over and over again. That's not gonna. That appeal can't last forever. And I think the way now with young people, the way to kind of catch them and to kind of try and instill some sort of, if it's not love, respect for their national language, is to try and keep it as modern and current as possible.
And I think it's important for people to stop saying I wish, or if I was good. Get to a class, get to a meetup or something, and just speak our language, because it's in our brains. I feel
it's there.
Just needs to come to the
language,
surface.
it gets really rusty if you don't speak a language all the time.
Chat.
Totally. No, but it does. So it's there. People have a lot more Irish than they think they have.
Yeah, hopefully maybe in a couple of months we could do a podcast on scale.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to work on this project with you. And just
too.
in case everyone didn't hear, where can we find you?
You can find me at MuinteoirMurphy on Instagram. There's no father on the U because Instagram doesn't allow fathers. So
we'll change that.
MuinteoirMurphy, Murphy, MURPHY. That's on Instagram. And hopefully now you can find me up and running at this stage on my YouTube channel, which is also, I was actually toying with the name of it, but at the moment it's still MuinteoirMurphy. I'm toying with a different name.
And I'll put all the links in the description below. All right. Any last words to say, kind of like in case I forgot anything?
Final thought.
Final thought.
No, I don't know. I think it was. I enjoyed that. I have to say, I really enjoyed doing that with you, and
we covered a lot of ground.
We did. Yeah, it was really interesting. I hope that some lessons have been learned.
Honestly, I truly think the work MuinteoirMurphy is doing is so important. She's bringing the Irish language to a modern age, making it approachable to young people and the content they sort of absorb. And I'm so happy for her, and she's a great person for me to kind of come to with ideas. And yeah, it's just so great to have someone like that in my life. And I hope her story has inspired some of you to maybe do something you've always wanted to do, or change something up the way you want to do it. And look, have a great week, and I'll see you next week. And also make sure to check out at MuinteoirMurphy on Instagram, and check out our YouTube channel, which I'll leave below in the show notes. You are awesome, believe in it, don't let anyone tell you, or don't let anyone put you in a box, because people love to bring me down to make themselves feel good. And you know what, you just gotta say goodbye, I don't need you, I'm gonna do me.